But I think it all starts with purpose. What's the purpose of your PMO? Here's a great thing to try tomorrow morning with your teams. Get them to individually write down what they think the purpose of their team is to do. It's quite fascinating. You'll get a myriad of different results. Quite often when I talk to PMO managers, and I'll say, what's the purpose of PMO? What's the purpose of your PMO in your organization? They normally haven't been asked that question before. And so they kind of talk around, and we kind of get to something, and it usually looks like this: to monitor, standardize, and control. The trouble with that is, and this, this picture, we kind of sometimes elevated from the action. We're actually not part of the play. We're reporting on what we see, but we're elevated away from it. And that's one of the fundamental things we need to think about. So maybe that's not our purpose. Maybe it's something different. And that's where it all needs to start. So before we get down into what are we going to do, let's understand what our purpose is. Because if we can align to that, we can get a much better result. You've heard this a number of times in a number of talks today, right? How does the PMO add value? The trouble is, we could ask ourselves or try and answer the question ourselves. But actually what we need to do is go and ask our stakeholders and say, what's valuable to you? How can I add value to you? They'll give you answers. And sometimes it's about alignment. I do a lot of work on systems thinking, which has really changed my fundamental view of how organizations work. But organizations and departments in organizations can become local optimizations. And what that means is that that team tries to be the best team it can be at what it does. And that drives it to be selfish, because they're not looking upstream and downstream and aligning to the overarching goal. And so sometimes we can be misaligned to what actually the organization's trying to do. Some more stats. Laura showed you some this morning. The rap sheet doesn't look good. I'm going to be really honest. 50% of closed within 3 years. Implementation rate implementation failure rate is over 50%. 68% say they're too bureaucratic, and only 29% are viewed as a strategic business partner. What I liked about Laura's talk was she talked about actually if we do the same thing we've always done, we're probably going to get the same result we've always got. So actually we need to break the mold a little bit. We need to go back and maybe some of the, if they might be in the room, some of the accreditation and training teams need to look in the mirror and go, are we teaching the right things here? Because actually, if we're still getting a rap sheet like that, we need to do something slightly differently. So what are the worst behaviors? I once worked with an organization where I came in to do a program turnaround, which I love, because you literally can't make anything worse. So it's like gloves off, let's just get... And I talked to some of the other program and project managers, and they said, oh, whatever you do, don't put anything red. And I went, what do you mean? And they went, if you put something as red, you get the exec team come down, seagull management, they come squawking in, flying around, make loads of mess, nick your chips, and then run off again. And I went, what do you mean? Get the hit squad. And I spoke to the senior management, and they went, that's literally never happened. It was always like a learned behavior that people did. But no one would put their project or program red. Everything was amber and green. So what was the first thing I did? Shiny red, blinking on off and on. This is a turnaround program. It's red, right? And I invite this team to come and have a conversation with me if they want to. But we see this kind of thing where no one dares go red, right? We try and manage everything through amber. Portfolio gridlock. Everyone there is trying to commute to their work. They're all doing something, but they're not getting anywhere. And sometimes that's what it feels like. It feels like there's a lot of work going on. There's a lot of management going on. There's a lot of meetings going on, but are we getting much out the far end? And then sometimes, are we there to speed up delivery or slow it down? Sometimes it feels like there's a lot of traffic lights to try and get through. We'll talk about those in a little bit more. And then the last one, watermelon reporting. Green on the outside, red on the inside. The team know it's red. They've told the project manager. They said, oh, I'm not so sure I can say it's red. I'll say it's amber. By the time they got up to the delivery manager's gone, well, it's kind of green, isn't it? And the execs go, everything's okay. And we've seen this too many times. So these are the kind of the worst behaviours we see. The good thing is, my view is from a systems thinking point of view. John, in the session earlier on, talked about Deming. Deming said most things are systemic. They are not down to the people. The people are not the problem. It's the system they're working in. The emperor's got no clothes. I worked with a financial organisation once, financial services organisation, and I was looking after one of the big credit card portfolios, and they used to have an army for PMO. I mean, they're probably like this many was in the PMO. A big organisation. It was fantastic. They did beautiful packs, all in colour, graphs, visualisation, fantastic. And I used 25 pages every week. Right, it was amazing. And I went through once, and I was like, this one's an interesting one. Cost 400 million. Benefit, financial services, banks love big projects, right? 400 million. Benefits 650 million. Okay. Current cost to date, 850 million. Cost to finish, another 250 million. They had 1,000 people working on it, 24 hours, chasing the clock around the world. What was it called? Type of project? Cost reduction. Now, I sat in the canteen once and I was reading this, and I kind of went to a couple of people. I went, look at this one. Right, how on earth, and they literally shushed me and went, shh, furtively looking left and right. It's like, you can't talk about it. No one dared sort of say the emperor's got no clothes. Well, they did every 6 months, they just changed the program director and let them fail 6 months later. So there's a lot of things broken sometimes, and sometimes we're just reporting on the chaos rather than intervening.